know you're getting older when you're not as fluent in different platforms here. But here we go. Okay, starting over. So let's talk a little bit about OnRamps and pretend none of that ever happened. We have some quotes here from former OnRamps students talking about just how OnRamps really provides several opportunities to prepare students for whatever you end up doing in the future. So I think the obvious transference of skills here is for those of you that are college bound. OnRamps is a great way to prepare for college. But for those of you that might want to go to trade school, or you might want to go immediately into the workforce, I think OnRamps still has a lot of transferable skills that could aid you in that journey as well. And just to begin, we like to talk about why an experience like this is needed. So as you can see in this image here, the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board followed a lot of students from 8th grade all the way through to their college completion. And what they found was a little bit surprising. So out of the 100 8th grade students that enrolled in the fall of 2008, and this is the 100 aggregate, so 100% essentially of who they followed, only 53 of the 100 aggregate actually enrolled in an institute of higher education. So immediately we see a drop off of roughly 50% that actually enrolled in an institute of higher education. And then of that 53, only 23 went on to receive a degree or a certificate from an institute of higher education. And then if you look even further down on the screen here, of those 23, only 17 actually received a bachelor's degree or higher. And so when we look at images like this, I think the most obvious thing to notice here is that we are losing students along this college going pipeline. And this is not any sort of condemnation of high school instruction or high school curriculum. We know students across the state receive excellent foundational supports, academically speaking, and there are great teachers out there that are preparing students for college and beyond. But a lot of these students reported that they felt a misalignment between high school expectations and college going expectations. And so that really boils down to these social emotional skills that really make up about 50% of what it takes to be successful in college. So these are skills like studying on your own or in groups. These are skills like self-advocating and really going to the instructor during office hours and making sure that you're making your case known and asking the right questions. This is the kind of grit that people talk about that's necessary to be successful in college and beyond. Sometimes those skills are not as well practiced in high school as we would like them to be, and we're losing students because of that. And so what we're trying to do as an organization is we're trying to increase the number and diversity of students who engage in learning experiences that are aligned with the expectations of leading research universities. And our mission drives everything that we do. We want to make sure that this is an opportunity that allows students many different ways to engage with college-going content, to engage with a college-going mindset, to practice advocating for themselves. And we want to see as many types of students engage with this opportunity as possible. So when we're talking about diversity, we are talking about demographic diversity, of course, racial ethnic diversity, socioeconomic diversity, and first generation versus continuing generation diversity. You'll see at the end of this presentation, roughly half of our students are students that will be the first in their family, the first generation to actually go to college and to complete college. And so we don't want this to be an intimidating experience. There are going to be tough moments for sure, and it's going to require a lot of brain power, and it's going to require students working together and really diving deep into the material. But students should not disqualify themselves because they're not in the top 10% or because they're not in the AP student crew. We want as many different types of students to engage with this experience as possible. And the reason for that is because research shows that students who enter college with credit from a dual credit course or a dual credit equivalent course are 2 times more likely to graduate in 4 years than students that enter without credit. So what this is essentially saying is there's a lot of research and evidence to support that students who engage with these college credit-bearing courses and complete them while they're in high school are effectively doubling their chances of graduating in 4 years when they go to college. And that's huge. This is not saying that students have to complete a particular STEM course. It is not saying that students have to make an A in a particular course or even accept the credit. It's saying that students that engage with these courses are the ones that are really doubling their chances here. And so what we see or how we've built these courses is we've built them on these 4 pillars that you see here. So the first one listed is college standards. We want all of our courses to be aligned with the college going standards and the college content that you would see as a freshman if you stepped foot on any of the institutions across our state. So these courses that we're about to dive into are courses that are designed by the faculty here at the University of Texas at Austin. They are these semester courses that are oftentimes, the core curriculum credit that freshmen need and that sophomore often need as well, to make sure that they fill the foundational elements of their degree plan. And we are taking those and we are stretching those semester courses out over the entire academic year. So students are having a lot of time to engage with this authentic college going experience. And we hold students to a high standard, of course, but we're really helping and assisting them along the way. We're doing a lot of that through innovative pedagogy. And so pedagogy is the way that teachers teach and the way that they kind of engage with their students and the style of teaching that's presented to students. And so a lot of you might assume that all professors just go up to the front of the lecture hall, they talk for 45, 50 minutes, and then they leave and you're tested on the material later. That is changing considerably. If you went and audited courses here at UT or at A&M or Texas Tech or wherever you're planning to go to, you would see that more and more professors are starting to realize that the sit and get model, where students are just sitting there and getting the information, regurgitating on the test, is not always the most effective way to actually learn. And so many of our professors here at UT are designing their courses to where it's more inquiry-based, meaning that students are expected to craft and really dive into these deeper questions that really assess the knowledge that's out there and causes them to think critically. There's more team-based learning as well and project-based learning that we're seeing in both our courses and courses here at the University of Texas. So we want students to really have an authentic learning experience. We're also giving them a technology-enhanced education. And so I would assume that, 99% of students today would say that they are, decent with technology. And a lot of times that includes social media, Microsoft Word, Google Suite, things like that. But we're asking students to really dive into technology on a deeper level. Some of our courses like computer science or art and entertainment technology are really diving into technology here, but all of our courses, from the math to science to language arts courses, are going to require students to use a learning management system to really dive into the college side of the learning. And so we use Canvas LMS. And Canvas is a commonly used learning management system for colleges and universities across the United States. And so it's giving students a way to kind of preview that method of, submitting assignments, of gaining information from professors, communicating with classmates when they're in high school. So by the time they transition to college, this is not new, or there's not a huge learning curve that has to take place. And we also try to give aligned college experiences wherever we can. We want everything that we do to be intentional in the course, to where we are ramping students up, excuse the pun, to make sure that they will be successful in college and beyond. So we offer 16 dual enrollment courses, which are designed by the UT faculty here in Austin. And to date, OnRamps has prepared over 105,000 students for the challenges and rigors of college. And we do that through this unique dual enrollment model that I'd mentioned earlier. It's a little bit different than what you would see in a traditional dual credit classroom. And so we want to offer students as close to an authentic college experience as they can get in their high school classroom, but we know that this can be a big adjustment for students. So we offer unique levels of support to guide students along this academic journey while they still have the familiar support system of parents, of teachers that they're familiar with, and of friends that they're familiar with in their peer group. So you probably have a lot of familiarity with the dual credit model that's highlighted in white here at the top portion of this visual. And while this model, where you have one credentialed instructor giving college assignments to students and getting a grade at the end of the course, it works well for a lot of people. But we've structured our model so that the high school teacher and the college instructor are working in partnership to make sure that a college-ready vision and college-ready components are put into place to make students successful. So students are taking these courses in a single class period, but by the end of the experience, they will have two separate grades, a high school grade and transcript, and then a college grade and transcript. So an easy way to kind of break down the division of labor here about what's happening in the high school side versus what's happening in the college side is to ask yourself, what would a college student do to prepare for their class outside of the lecture hall? And the answers that you probably come up with, which are focused mostly on studying solo or in groups, attending office hours, working through practice problems on their own, those type of things are what the high school teacher is facilitating in their classroom. So on the college side, learning and assignment submissions taking place online via the Canvas learning management system that I mentioned earlier, which is, again, what our UT students use. And students are logging into Canvas to review their digital textbook. They're watching helpful videos. They're reading articles. They are going over lecture notes. And this is all taking place under the supervision of their high school teacher during the class period, where the teacher can further assist with the learning that's taken place. So students can also access their college exams, which are made and graded by the college instructor of record online under the supervision of their high school instructor during the day to kind of protect that test integrity there. And the reason that students receive these two separate grades that you see here for the same course is because college and high school grading standards and policies are very, very different. High schools end up taking dozens of grades per course, which of course allows for constant feedback and the ability for a student to retake an assessment if they didn't do so great the first time and if they've kind of learned from their mistakes there. College grading policies, not so much. Due dates are very strictly enforced and retakes rarely happen, if ever. And so the starkest difference, though, probably between the two is the sheer number of grades that's taken in a course. There are, on average, I think about 60 to 70 grades that we see in our average high school courses, but only 4 to 6 grades in an average college course. So this 2-grade model right here, this is what's allowing students to kind of preview the difference between high school and college grading policies. And we hope that after exposure to these grading policies, students will be less likely to drop their future college course because they will know what to expect, essentially, and plan accordingly. And as I highlighted in earlier slides, college persistence is an issue across the state, and we're steadily losing students along that college-going pipeline. And students drop out a lot of the time after the first few weeks of the semester because they might have not done so great on the first exam and they realize they only have 2 more chances to bring their grade up. Panic ensues. You have to pay another grand or so to retake the course, or you just drop it altogether, and those are not ideal outcomes for anyone. So we have built-in supports on the high school side to make sure that students are getting eased into this college mindset and college going expectation here. We want students to have ultimately a low risk, low barrier to entry into a college going course. So here are all of our courses that we currently offer. Round Rock has a wide variety of these courses depending on which campus you attend. So that's something that if you're curious, like, does my campus have OnRamps US History? Your campus counselors are the best resource to find that out. You would select an OnRamps course on your college, or sorry, your high school course sheet, or however you choose courses within the district, just like you would any other course. Usually around this time of year or just sometime before you break for the semester. And then you'll start the course next year in early August, September, and make sure that you are enrolled throughout the whole year. So these are all 1-year commitments in these courses. As I mentioned earlier, in the first 2 rows, these are our STEM courses. So STEM being like the science, technology, and math courses here. These were oftentimes referred to as the weed out courses on campus because we would see massive numbers of freshmen enter into college. And these could be like the top, 6% of high school graduates coming here to UT that, you would assume would be the most academically prepared students out there. They'd come to college, take these courses, and not do so great. Again, it's not because their academic foundations were bad. It was because those social emotional expectations were misaligned in college. And so we took these courses where we, oftentimes see freshmen being weeded out from the group. And we decided that, 1 semester is kind of a whirlwind for someone to take in, quantum computing or to take in geoscience or pre-calculus. Let's stretch it out over the entire academic year. And so you have from August to May to complete these courses, and all of these courses are worth 3 college credit hours. The exceptions are those with the little asterisks next to them. Those science courses have a lab component, which is an extra hour, so they're ultimately worth 4 potential college credit hours. On the bottom are humanities courses. So if you would attend a campus that offers OnRamps US History or OnRamps Rhetoric, these courses, we noticed that while the material is still very rigorous and it still requires a lot of students were a little bit better about keeping up with the pacing of this content. So we kept those classes as semester courses. So you could get 3 hours of US history in the spring and 3 hours in the fall for a total of 6 potential hours over the course of the year with the humanities courses. None of these courses require a TSI entry score, and none of them require a ACT or SAT or any sort of entry exam to enter into these courses. All you have to have is the necessary high school prerequisites for the course. So, for example, with our rhetoric course here, this is an English language arts course that's usually like a junior or senior level course on the high school side. All you would have to enter into these courses is English 1 and 2 in high school to be able to enter into this course. And so we want these courses to have as low of a barrier to entry as possible. Again, so as many students as possible can engage with this material and hopefully be successful in the future. So again, these are all the year-long courses, the STEM courses. And we follow this year-long milestone timeline where students will select over the next however many weeks you do course selections. They'll choose to be an OnRamps course, And then that way on day one of school, students will be physically in the classroom with their high school instructor. They will be introduced to Canvas. They will be introduced to the college instructor of record via the Canvas learning management system. And they'll claim a UT EID that first week of school. And this will signify their participation in the course and in the broader University of Texas network. We also have several modules where students will kind of work through where to find certain elements on Canvas. We also have unit zeros for all of our courses where students can kind of practice what it's like to take a quiz or what it's like to review the reading assignments in Canvas, just to give them, again, a week or two to really get acclimated to this dual enrollment environment. In September, we do a fall census, which is essentially a snapshot to where all students that are in the course in September, those are the students that will show up on the district's final invoice, essentially. And in January, February, that's where we do eligibility checks. So we're currently doing that now as an organization with our districts. We go through all of our students to see who is passing on the college side of the course at this midpoint in the year. And so passing on the college side is technically a D- or above in the college side of the course. Because remember, in an OnRamps course, you receive 2 separate grades, a high school grade and then a college grade. We're only concerned with the college grade here. If a student is failing the college side of the course here at this eligibility check, this is the time where we give students essentially a second chance to recapture eligibility. So if a student wants to submit a qualifying TSI, ACT, or SAT score here, they'll have a second chance to potentially earn college credit. If a student is failing the college side of the course here, but is still passing the high school side of the course, we encourage the student to stay in the course regardless of their eligibility status on the college side. And that's because at the end of the year, students are going to have the ability to accept or decline their college grade. So if they like their college grade, that's wonderful, and they're going to choose to accept the college grade. We will generate a UT transcript, and the student has core curriculum credits that they can transfer to pretty much any institution they choose following high school. But if you didn't meet the eligibility check here, you're failing the college side of the course, but you passed the high school side of the course, you will get your high school transcript that just has your high school grade on it, and you can decline your college transcript. We will not generate it. It will not result in an incomplete. There's no negative mark, essentially, that follows the student. It's like they get the high school credit and they got the course experience that will double their chances, hopefully, of future success. And they probably learned how to study. They learned how to work in a team. They learned how to use a online learning management system. And they probably learned a lot of lessons along the way of what works and what doesn't work. And so no experience throughout this year-long timeline is wasted. That's why we encourage students to stay in the course kind of regardless of their eligibility status here mid-year. We think of the college credit as more of a bonus than the end goal. The end goal is to complete the course, essentially. It's worth a note too here that this accept decline period is really good for students because there are some students that pass the college side of the course, and let's say they make a high C, a C+, and OnRamps physics. There are many students that are like, yes, please generate a transcript for me. I'm so pleased that I passed this course. I don't care what the grade is. I'm just going to transfer the credit, and that's great. But there are some students that they know that the grade might follow them depending on where they go. It varies college to college. Some only take the credit, some take the credit and the grade. If they know they're going to college that will take the credit and the grade on their transcripts, they might not want a C to be their first college transcripted grade. Maybe they were thinking about getting into an honors dorm, or maybe they don't want to take the hit to their GPA and it would impact financial aid. they can decline the credit even if they pass the course. It's totally up to them and what they think is most beneficial for their next steps. So similar things happen here with the semester courses, our rhetoric and history course. The only difference is they have an accept decline period both in January and in May. And that's because, again, those humanities courses are semester-long courses instead of year-long courses. So there are two chances, essentially, where they could get 3 hours for that first semester and 3 hours for the second semester. From time to time, we do have students that might not have done so well that first semester of rhetoric or U.S. history, but they learned a lot of lessons, and that second semester, they do much better, and they're able to generate a transcript here. And that's really okay. You can not get credit for the first semester and still get credit for the second semester. So still walk away with 3 hours, essentially. And this, again, only applies to U.S. history and rhetoric here. All of the other courses, you just have the one shot to get 3 hours over the whole year. And this is something that we really want to emphasize with parents, is kind of what to expect emotionally with your student over the course of the year. These are hard courses. They are, again, courses that you would see freshmen taking here at the University of Texas. And so at the beginning of the year, we have a lot of students that have a really hard time with the course, especially with courses that use inquiry-based learning, like our math courses. They're not just putting problems on the board and solving it for the students. They're putting problems up and they're asking students, well, why does this certain formula work? What would you like to know about, the theory behind this function, and how would you use proofs to get to the answer here? And there's just a lot of frustration that can happen on the student side. And oftentimes we see, usually right around the time of the first test, students can stress out, they get their first exam score, especially those that are used to making A's all the time. They may have gotten a B or a C or worse on their first exam, and they want to give up, and they're just done. And they think, Mom, come save me, fill out this transfer form, tell the counselor that I don't need to be here anymore. And it just can be a frustrating experience during that first exam window. But what we have found time and time again, and again, we've done this with over 100,000 students, so I think we're starting to see a pattern here, is that this is usually the time when they're most frustrated, that they realize that the benefit to this experience is that they have a built-in supportive community that they wouldn't normally have if they were off to college doing this on their own for the first time, when they're still trying to make friends and they're still trying to figure out where things are in their new college town. And they really start to take advantage of that. They start to, get this growth mindset of, okay, I didn't get the material yet. I'm not going to never get the material. I just haven't gotten there yet. I'll ask for help. I'll go to my teacher, the high school teacher that I'm familiar with, and maybe attend tutorials. I'll ask a friend and form a study group. I'll reach out to my parents and tell them, like, hey, can you offer me suggestions of what you did to be successful in college? They're going to actually study. I can't tell you how many students I've had personally that were like, I study so hard for the test. I'm like, really? What does your study schedule look like? The night before, I always pull an all-nighter. Well, that's not a good study tactic. That's great for remembering information for a minute, but you won't remember it over the long term. And so they start to realize that these strategies aren't always going to cut it for college courses. They may have for high school courses up until this point, but they might not for college. So they're going to learn these new strategies. They'll learn not to give up. And then they're going to be ready for college whenever they go off on their own. Again, I can't tell you, out of the 100,000 plus students that we've had, so many of them get to this point at the first exam in like September. But after that, it's like totally different students throughout the rest of the year. They learn what works, they persist with the course, and they're better for it, for having gone through this experience. Again, while they have the support system built in instead of having to figure this all out on their own. And so just to reiterate a couple of points that I've already touched on a little bit here, there's no application or test that students have to complete to get into the course. They only have to have the necessary high school prerequisites to enroll. If you have a student that receives accommodations, they can continue to receive accommodations. We have a drop-down list when students enroll in the course at the beginning of the year of common college accommodations that they can request. And we just have the high school instructor verify that their IEP states that they're supposed to receive these accommodations. Once the high school teacher verifies that, they're good to go, because we want students to know that accommodations do exist in college, and that they should get the help that they need. And we also want to make sure that students gain these valuable skills like time management, effective study techniques, teamwork, self-advocacy to be successful in college and beyond. So we have awarded over 87,000 semester credit hours in the last year alone. And 92%, the little graphics mismatched there, but 92% of eligible students, those that were making a D- or above, that mid-year point, actually went on to earn college credit. So we have kind of a high acceptance rate there. And we want to make sure too that we are empowering students to take ownership of their learning. We're preparing them for college success. We're giving them high quality academic content. And we're doing this, like, our numbers are growing each year. We have almost 35,000 students last year, and I think we have just over 35,000 students this year. But we're doing this with the support system of these great teachers that we have across the state that are learning and growing from our staff. They're learning and growing from each other, and they're teaching us too. It's just this practice of reciprocity where we're all just learning together of how to best serve students, what works, what doesn't, what is pushing students appropriately in the right direction. And I think everybody's becoming better and stronger in their academic preparedness because of it. We started off with just 6 teachers and 166 students, and we've grown to this just large community, which, as you can see in these graphics, pretty effectively reflects the demography of Texas. We're trying to live out our mission here with our student enrollments. Almost half of our students are first generation students, meaning they'll be the first in their families to earn a college degree or college credit here. And 54% of our student cohort identifies as Hispanic. And we just, again, want to make sure that we're reflecting the demography of the state and who we serve. And then last but not least, this is my email. If you have follow-up questions that we're not able to answer in the session here, we could definitely follow up with you via email. Also, Michelle Swain is a great resource about anything and everything related to OnRamps. So feel free to contact either one of us there. So I'm going to stop sharing here for a second. So we can answer any questions that you might have.
Yeah, and so there was one in the chat. I've been answering them in the chat as best I can, the ones that are about the district, but there was one that asked, how are the professors chosen? Are they chosen by OnRamps, by the department, or do they volunteer?
So it's a little bit of everything. OnRamps has these partnerships with the professors here at the University of Texas, but they come to a mutual agreement. It was kind of like OnRamps set out the call of who would be interested in maybe teaching this course, and these professors answered. They're all distinguished professors, like Dr. Loudy, for example, who runs our chemistry course. Has many accolades to his name. They've all been teaching here at the university for multiple years. None of them are newbies here. They've got tried and true methods and a well-stated reputation here at the university. So I hope that kind of answers the question here.
Okay, and then I've made it to where people can unmute themselves. So I believe Sneha has a question.
Oh, hi. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So my question was related to how involved the high school teacher would be in these courses. Are they the ones who are teaching it, or would it be the professor who's teaching it? So I just wanted to understand.
Yeah, so it's actually both. So the high school instructor that's on the campus with the student, they are doing the day-to-day work. And so they're the ones interfacing with students each and every day. They're the ones that are administering daily quizzes. They're the ones kind of helping them with homework assignments, running tutorials, reteaching content as necessary. That's their role. So they're very much like the boots on the ground, interacting with the students in the day-to-day. Everything that they do is to try to help scale up the students to be successful for college exams. So everything they do has intentionality behind it. They're not just giving random quizzes and assignments and saying, good luck, kids. I hope you're studying for the college exam on your own. They are working in partnership with our college course staff to make sure that everything is aligning properly to where all of those little tests and all of those little quizzes and homework assignments and discussions that they're running are adequately preparing them for the test that the college instructor of record made and designed and is administering via Canvas, which is the online learning management system.
Oh, okay. So would the high schoolers have any sort of engagement with the professor, or would it just be through Canvas?
So the engagement that they would have with the professor would be just mostly through online submission of material.
Okay.
They also have access in a lot of the courses to like pre-recorded like short videos that might assist them with like certain labs that are coming up or with big topics covered in reading. But the one that they're really interacting with is the high school instructor.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, hi. So I wanted to find out, like you mentioned, right? Like if we take a OnRamps course, is it considered as part of a GPA and RIC?
So are you asking more about the high school GPA factor?
That's right. That's right.
Okay, I think Michelle Swain would probably be the better resource here because we let districts
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I'm happy to help with that question. Yes, they are part of our GPA and ranking class. So currently all of the courses that we offer are part of the core. They're in math, science, language arts, or social studies, and they do count for GPA and ranking class.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. I believe Vinod had the next question.
Yeah, Michelle, on the same one, the GPA, for the RIC, is it counted as 6-point GPA or 5-point GPA?
It is counted the same as AP and IB courses.
Okay, but some places it is showing it is like considered as a 5-point GPA. And, when I actually looked at the Round Rock Independent School District catalog, it did say that it will be counted as 6-point GPA, but there are some things like they have brochure on the website that it says that it is only considered as a 5-point GPA.
So I would honestly have to go look that up. I know that there have been some changes in GPA in the last few years. We actually just got OnRamps fully approved for counting for GPA and ranking class in the last year. And there was a committee that did that. And I was, because I was already biased, they did not let me be on the committee. Mm-hmm. They wanted an impartial group of people to look at it. So that's something that I would really have to look at. But I can tell you that we are about to look at GPA and ranking class again, and I am going to be on the committee this time. So I would have to look at it. But one of the things that I always caution as we're looking at GPA and ranking class is, yes, those points are valuable. And I understand, that there is the top 10%, the top 6% and those pieces, but the experience that students get in any of the college credit bearing courses, but especially in OnRamps, is so very authentic to the kind of learning and behaviors that they're going to need when they actually go to a college or university, that the benefits of participating far outweigh any grade bump that they may see in GPA and ranking class.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, it is definitely helpful to know if it is considered it as the same as AP course, because the students would like to take an AP course so that they will have a bump in RIC, because, if they want to go to the UT, they have to be in the 6%, so they don't want to lose out on that. Right.
So I would definitely say talk to your counselor, because they're the ones that work with that on a daily basis, and they're going to be the ones that are the most up to date on how that works. Okay. I see a lot
One
of
more
people
question I have for Megan.
Okay.
Do they have different quizzes from the university and different quiz from the school, or is it for the UT OnRamps classes?
Yeah, so there's going to always be a smaller number of quizzes and tests and essays, depending on which course you're in, on the college side. And so there's oftentimes additional quizzes and assignments that are added on the high school side, and we leave those up to the high school instructor, because a lot of districts have certain grade minimum requirements where each 9 weeks or whichever grading period that you all are on, you have to have a certain amount of grades. And so we allow the teachers to offer as many opportunities to get those grades as they need to. So there will be high school only assignments and then college only assignments that are going to be separate and different. It'll cover the same type of content, but the college assignments will probably cover more content at once and have maybe a deeper rubric or more detailed rubric versus the high school assignments that will probably be shorter reading quizzes, discussion, immediate feedback type of assignments that you would normally see in a high school classroom. So does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, one more question, please. So if I have to choose a course, let's say stats, right? I have two options. I can select a AP stats or a OnRamp stats. So which one should I go through?
That's a tough question to answer, because I think it's so subjective to just the learning styles and preferences of the student. They are both great. They will both result in potential college credit that can be transferred to pretty much any institution that the student chooses. One is AP and nationally recognized. The other could result in credit that has a transcript from the University of Texas, which is also nationally recognized Tier 1 research university. So there's really no wrong choice here. I would just say it kind of boils down to maybe if the student is a strong test taker or not, because AP credit is solely dependent upon their performance on that end of year exam, if they pass that or not, if they make a 4 or 5 on the exam. OnRamps is a grade determinant that is spread out over the entire academic year, so they have the whole year to get that final grade, which some students prefer. But it would be totally up to the student. It might even come down to just best teacher fit. If there are 2 different teachers that are teaching the course, they may like the teaching style of one versus the other. So there's no bad choice here.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and if you want some more information comparing AP and IB and OnRamps and dual credit, there is a document on the District Advanced Academics webpage that is a side-by-side comparison of all the college credit-bearing course options. And so we have a list of questions down the side and then the answers as they go across. So I recommend that you would look there. A couple of other questions that have popped up. One is has been over a couple of times. Will this be recorded and shared? And yes, it will go on the Advanced Academics site as soon as we can get it up there. Another is, how might OnRamps participation impact the admissions process post-high school? And how does UT admissions view OnRamps participation versus AP?
Yeah, that's a great question. So as far as the UT admissions office is concerned, they would view it as a UT transcripted credit. So it is definitely not a negative mark to a student. It probably reads positively to that admissions officer that they were able to get UT transcripted credit before actually being admitted into the University of Texas. And AP versus OnRamps credit, I think, is viewed very similarly throughout the institutions that we've talked with, at least. We've never had any indication from admissions officers that they view OnRamps negatively or less than AP. I think, again, having the actual UT transcript really helps students in these situations. The only time where I've seen students really trip up whenever they reach out to admissions officers, sometimes they will say that, they're calling an out-of-state school. Let's say that this is an ambitious kid and they are calling Harvard. Although who really calls Harvard? But they've called them and they've gotten someone on the phone and they're saying, okay, I have OnRamps credit in physics. Will that transfer? Well, these out-of-state institutions may not be familiar with the term OnRamps, and that can cause some confusion. They need to lead with, I have the UT credit in this course, and read off the UT course code when they're asking these questions. Because again, that's name recognition, that's familiarity in the admissions world that just saying OnRamps might not provide. So I hope that helps kind of clarify things for people whenever they're asking different admissions officers about credit transference. Use the UT course code instead of just saying I have OnRamps credit, and that helps clear up a lot of things.
Absolutely. Sir Devi, and I don't know if I said that right or not, but Sir Devi has their hand up, and I need to go ahead and let them talk because they've had it up for a while.
Sure.
Yeah, the question is, so basically 1 year of on-ramp course is equivalent to doing a 6 months or 1 semester of course in the college?
Correct. Yeah, so it's worth 3 college credit hours on average.
Okay, thanks. That's all.
No problem.
And the only difference with that is in history and rhetoric. Those are single semester courses. So if you take those 2 courses in a year, you actually get 6 credits, right, Megan?
Right, you're right. So the humanities courses are the exception to the rule here. Like Michelle said, it's 3 in the fall, 3 in the spring. All of our other courses, the math and science courses, those are just 3 hours for the entire year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and our next speaker, sorry, I don't have my glasses on and the print's little. Is it Shatabdo?
Yes. So I was just wondering that my high school offers only some OnRamps courses, but I'm interested in other OnRamps courses. Like, could I take those instead? Like, if maybe another high school offers that, could I almost be like transferred or go to that high school and then come back for just to take that class?
So usually we don't do that just for a single class. What I would recommend is if there is a particular course that you are interested in taking next year, and I've said this a couple of times to folks in the chat, right now is when they're looking at which courses and which instructors they want to engage with OnRamps. And so I'm looking at, I've actually pulled up the chart and I'm looking at it, and there are several courses that are only offered at one campus. There's courses that every single one of our 5 comprehensive high schools offer, such as pre-cal. So it really is based on community interest and demand. And so I really encourage you to go talk to your lead counselor and or your associate principal at the high school, because those are the folks that are making those decisions collectively based on what they're hearing from families and what they know about existing opportunities at the high school. I'm going to do, everybody listen carefully, because I'm going to do a real quick rundown of right now what I know they're planning to offer. But remember that just because they plan to offer it, if they don't get enough students to sign up for it, then they may not be able to. So here is, sorry, somebody else is coming in. Here is what is currently planned. Cedar Ridge is looking at biology, chemistry, history, pre-cal, and rhetoric. McNeil is looking at chemistry, geology, pre-cal, physics, rhetoric, and statistics. Round Rock is looking at geology, history, pre-cal, physics, rhetoric. That's it. Stony Point is looking at geology, college algebra, and pre-cal. and Westwood is looking at offering pre-cal. So that is what's currently planned, but that plan is still able to change all the way up into May if there's enough interest.
Okay,
And
thank
then
you.
we've gotten a lot of questions over in the chat that I'm not able to answer. So I'm going to ask some of those, Megan, if you don't mind. There was a question about, is rhetoric more reading, writing, or what? And I believe that's more writing, correct?
Yes, definitely. A lot of writing in the course. There's kind of a big argument paper that students are going to ultimately have at the end of the semester, depending on what the theme is for that particular year, because our rhetoric course instructors kind of choose themes year to year to really engage with. But kind of leading up to that final thesis, essentially, they are learning necessary research skills. They're constantly doing some peer editing exercises to make their arguments in their papers better. And so there's going to be a lot of writing exercises throughout the year. The reading portion of it would come more from, I think, the research that goes into writing their paper than anything else.
Okay. We have another question. Can you take, and this I think I'm going to have to answer, can you take OnRamps and then when you decide you can't manage it, can you drop the course? Is there a time limit for kids to decide and change their course? So we do have a short period of time prior to the census date that Megan talked about for them to decide that the course is not for them and to drop it. If they are in there on the census date, then they are responsible for staying in the class and for paying the associated fee that is part of the class and provides for all of the materials and the instruction and assessment and all the things that go in with the class. We typically will not have them drop at that point. We just support and shepherd them through so that they are able to continue going on. Every once in a while, there's a specific case that is talked through with the counselor and administration at the campus, but typically they have, it's about, Megan, is it about a month before census date?
Yeah, it's usually mid-September.
Yeah, so they have a little bit of time to really figure it out, and their instructors will talk to them about that. Another question is it possible to get a copy of the syllabus for a particular class? And I know we have the course sheets, but can they get a copy of the syllabus, Megan?
Yeah, I think probably the most effective way to get that is to maybe ask the teachers on your campus if they would be comfortable sharing that syllabus. But my email that I showed at the end of this slide, I think if that teacher is unable to assist you with that, I could try to reach out for one. There just might be a delay there. That's why I suggested maybe the campus teacher route first, but I can try to help you out if needed.
Absolutely. And then another question, is there a curriculum difference between UT OnRamps and AP? And yes, they each have their own syllabus, their own content that they're covering, but they all count for English 3 credit. So they all satisfy the TEKS for English 3. Mm-hmm. Okay, so somebody asked me for the link for the AP dual credit comparison guide. So as soon as I finish all the questions, I'll run in here and find it. They want to see the college syllabus, the college side of it, but it's really kind of intertwined, correct?
Right, and the high school instructors give the college syllabus to their students that first week of school. That lays out the college expectations and assignments and grading policies in addition to their high school syllabus. So you get 2 syllabi essentially that each campus instructor would have access to. So, and again, if your campus teacher doesn't have that or can't get it to you right now, that's when you can try to email me.
Okay, thank you. And I'm almost to where I can capture that college credit and high school comparison chart. So let me grab that link and put it into the chat. And you can also get to it just by going to the district website and going to the A to Z index and going to advanced academics. It's at the bottom of the list on that page. There's a question about pros and cons for ECHS versus traditional middle school. So ECHS is a high school program, not a middle school program. So you might want to contact me later separately about that. Will OnRamps boost my students' chance to university? Any college credit bearing course is going to help the strength of schedule when admissions officers are looking at a student's transcript for college. So any college credit bearing course doesn't mean they have to take all college credit bearing courses, but when college admissions officers look at those transcripts, they do want to see some college credit opportunities on there. What are the college algebra prereqs? Is this equivalent to high school algebra 2? Yes, it is equivalent to high school algebra 2. So the prereq would be algebra 1 and geometry, I believe.
Yeah, and these are all listed on our website as well. If you just go to our OnRamps, if you Google OnRamps, it should show right up. I'll try to paste it in the chat in a moment. But we have all of our course sheets that give like the big ideas of the course, what the UT course code is for each of the courses, the necessary high school prerequisites for each course, and it just breaks down to what the what's required essentially and what's to be expected for each course. But let me find that and place that in there.
Okay, and there's a question about which college credits UT grants for the IB diploma. That's something you'll need to contact the admissions department for. Because that varies from campus to campus, university to university. What is the average grade that students earn towards their college credit? I know we have those reports. Megan, do you remember off the top of your head what the most common grade?
So it varies from campus to campus to course to course. So there's not just like an average kind of overall grade. So that's a really difficult one to answer, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's some information. I'm working on redesigning our sites for the college credit opportunities, and we get a report every year at the end of the year that provides a lot of that kind of data. And so it's in that report. If you'll email me tomorrow, then I can get that information to you. Uma, you have your hand raised. Uma, did you still have a question? I may not be pronouncing it correctly.
Hey, sorry, I was on mute. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Is there any difference in the curriculum that is offered as part of an OnRamps course versus an advanced or an AP course that a student would select?
So the OnRamps course is going to follow the college curriculum for that course, much like a dual credit course would follow that professor's curriculum for the course. They have standards that they have to meet. So that just like we have the TEKS, they have standards and they're aligned to the TEKS. So they're all covering the same basic content, but the way that they cover it and the assignments that they use are where you're going to see the variance.
Okay. So if they did take an OnRamps pre-cal course, then which is kind of their prerequisite to the next year of calculus, ABE, or something like that. If they did an OnRamps course, they would still cover everything that is required for them to take the next level in math that is required.
Absolutely. And then I believe there was a question about if it's the same high school teacher who works with OnRamps every year, or does that change? Just like anything, we can't predict which teachers are going to return. We can't predict what students are going to request which courses. And so it may change. It tends to stay pretty steady and stable, but people travel, people move, people get other jobs, people have other opportunities. And so we cannot guarantee from year to year that we're going to have the same teaching staff. Early on, we had a lot of issue with OnRamps actually stealing our teachers because they were so good. We kind of curtailed that a little bit. They're using them in a different way now, but they're still tapping into our faculty because we do have such a fantastic faculty, and most of them do stay with the program. Question, how much more time and effort are the students expected to put in for OnRamps? I'm going to give you my thought, and then Megan, if you want to adjust, you can. But typically we say that when you're looking at a college credit bearing course, just like a college course, you're going to at the very least have a one-to-one correspondence with time in course and time spent outside of course. So I would say for every hour that they are in class during the school week, they're spending at least an hour outside of the school day engaged in study for that course. Is that
Yeah.
about?
I think that's a great kind of rule of thumb to follow on things like this, because you want to make sure as a student, when you're entering into a course like an OnRamps course, that you just have the mindset, and you set a goal for yourself that I'm going to attend whatever tutorials this teacher can offer. I'm going to form study groups with friends or figure out a study plan for myself, because class time alone is not going to be sufficient. We're going to cover as much as we can in the class, and we're going to really dive into the material in class, and a minute won't be wasted, but you are going to have to commit a few hours at least outside of class, just to make sure that you're really getting into the material and committing it to your long-term memory and framing for a test.
Okay, it looks like Jyothi, did you raise your hand? Or okay, that must have been an accident. How do you find out which colleges take the OnRamps grades for GPA? So you have to remember that when they are looking at any of the college credit bearing courses, you're going to have to contact the college directly, because they're the ones that are going to know exactly how they package their acceptance of credits. And the important thing, though, is that once a student takes an OnRamps course and accepts the credit, they do generate a University of Texas transcript. And so that credit would be transferred to whatever college or university they go to. If it's not UT, that will be transcripted, that will be sent to their college. So for example, if you decided to go to A&M will still accept a UT transcript, even though it's A&M. So it works kind of that way. But as I tell all of our parents, when we're talking about college credit in high school and talking about college admissions, you need to go to whichever institutions you're looking at attending and really ask them those kinds of specific questions, because there's not a universal answer typically. Question, is there a difference in syllabus between the OnRamps pre-cal and the advanced pre-cal? I think we already actually addressed that. Students can take more than one OnRamps course. Oh, here's a good one. Do OnRamps attendees have access to UT Austin facilities?
Oh, that is a great question. So while you are not really physically attending the UT courses, you do have access to UT online resources. For example, with the OnRamps rhetoric course, because there's so much research involved, we give students access to library resources that only students would have. Canvas is an access tool that only our enrolled students have, that students have the ability to get into. If you're asking about like, kid, you get discounted football tickets? No, unfortunately, but you do have, again, those online academic resources that most University of Texas students would have. Oh, my favorite one that I almost forgot to mention is, again, in the rhetoric course, because there's so much writing involved. Not only do you have access to library resources, but you also have access to essay help, essentially, with our writing center, that they can read drafts of students' work and kind of offer feedback before the assignments actually due. For our science courses, they have the ability to look at some online lab materials that you wouldn't normally have access to. And all of our courses give students the ability to look at digital text via Canvas, the textbook essentially, to where students will not have to go out and purchase an additional textbook or textbook licensing or anything like that. It's all just given to them in the course.
Okay, and then another question, and then we're going to go to Jyothi. Are classes taught in person by UT professors or by high school teachers? The students sit in a high school teacher's classroom. Are the UT professors live when they come in, or is it recordings, or is it slide decks, or How does that work?
Yeah, so the professors are not going to be live because since this is a statewide program and because everybody's going to be taking different courses at different times, I just don't even know how to start with the logistics there. So any professor related content is going to be pre-recorded, preloaded content. But what I don't want to do is give the impression that students are going to sit in a 45 class minute class period and they're going to just watch a lecture for the whole class period from the professor and then talk about it with their high school instructor. That's not the case. These are like short little video snippets from time to time, or they're different postings from time to time, maybe not even video, that the students can look at and reference throughout the year. But it's the high school instructor that's giving that interactive element, and it's the high school instructor that would be doing the reteaching, lecturing, things of that nature. And they're doing it based off of the curriculum that was designed by the University of Texas. So they're not going off on their own here, and it's not at risk of kind of drifting off to irrelevant material. They have, again, kind of a clearly guided path of what needs to be covered, but we know students learn better with their teacher engaging with them instead of just watching a video. So I hope that answers your question.
Okay, and then Jeffy, you had?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, super quick question about middle schoolers. Is this program not aimed to serve middle schoolers? Because I felt like I saw that it was catering to grade 5 through 11.
I believe we posted it that way because we have a lot of families that begin their high school planning as early as fifth grade into middle school. And so we wanted to provide an opportunity for our kids going into middle school next year and our kids who are in middle school right now to understand that this is one of the options they will have when they get to high school. Because we found that our families sometimes need multiple iterations, multiple opportunities to be exposed to the information and in order to be able to take full advantage of it. So that's why we advertised it for 5th through high school, because we wanted to start giving you that opportunity to be exposed to that. And I just put in the chat a link to the crosswalk. And so this crosswalk document shows the high school course and then lists all of the available college credit bearing courses that could satisfy that high school course, whether it be AP or OnRamps or dual credit. So that might be a helpful document for you to go ahead and look at. And it's on that same, if you go to Advanced Academics in the A to Z index on the district website, it's on that exact same page right by the other one. I thought there was another, if my child attends UT Online High School Biology and completes this prior to freshman year, can they attend UT OnRamps Biology during freshman year? Possibly, but only if their high school is offering it. So before you go through all of that trouble, you want to make sure to check in with the high school and see if they are offering it and if they would allow a freshman to take that course, because most of the kids in that course would be juniors and seniors. Trying to see if there's any other question. Okay, and they are not offered online as separate courses right now. They are face-to-face courses that you take as part of your high school day. So again, if there's a course that you are interested in, I would advocate with your lead counselor and or your associate principal to see if they might be able to offer it next year. And then another question is, do the students have contact with the high school professors? I'm assuming you meant with the college. There we go. Yes, with the college professors. So Megan, do you want to talk about how that works?
Yeah, so the ones that the students are, or the people that the students are interacting with day to day, of course, are the high school instructors on their campus. Think of the college professors and the instructor of record here on the college side as the one that helped build the course, the one that helped write the content, and that helped train the high school instructor. they're not going to be the ones that the student is interfacing with regularly, where they can't just really send emails to the UT professor like, hey, could you check my grade again? Da, 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 da. That needs to, their daily interactions and the conversations need to happen with the high school instructor. They can send us a help desk ticket in Canvas to where if they've noticed a major error, or if they're having trouble accessing something, we definitely want to hear that and we can interact with them that way, but they'll just be connecting with OnRamp staff and not necessarily the professor that created the course. So I hope that kind of helps show the division there. Let me know if it didn't clearly answer your question.
All right, I'm looking at the time, and I had asked Megan to be with us until 7:15, and it is 7:17, so she has given us a couple of extra minutes. And thank you so much to all of you for being here this evening. We appreciate your attendance. We hope that this has sparked your excitement for OnRamps, and that you will feel free to contact either one of us with additional questions. But also, again, the people that you want to talk to on your campus, your counseling staff, your administrative staff, they're the ones that are making the decisions to put these courses on the choice sheets. And if you have any other questions, just feel free to reach out. And thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, great question. So thank you all.
Absolutely. I'm going to stop recording.